Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down and analyse the meta, what's happening over in Japan, and how will it impact Taiwan. Today, we're looking to see what exactly is winning in Japan's new format. Now, we know they have half of our Destined rival set, which is out in just a few months for us, but we want to see exactly why is Raging Bolt back at top? Why is Archaludon kind of moved to the poison build? And it's the best way to play Cynthia's Garchomp with sort of a team devolution with spread style cards. So we're going to look into that. Plus, we got some of the Team Rockets cards get revealed. So we're going to break down to see exactly how impactful they really be and how on earth did they prove Mewtwo EX to have 280 HP. I just want to say thank you so much for support this past few weeks. It's been absolutely incredible. We are currently right now recording a video 3 subscribers away from 2,000. So if we can hit that by the end of this week or even end of next month, I'd be absolutely ecstatic. And thank you again for such many of the kind words for my results over in Stockholm this past weekend with Dragapult. Getting top 256 was a really good dream come true. And I'm going to do a video about it next week, breaking down exactly how to prepare for a tournament. Now, that's a huge introduction. Let's jump right into the brand new cards. So obviously the Rockets cards got revealed and they've caused a bit of storm, but I honestly find them really interesting. Obviously, they have return of these Rockets Pokemon. We haven't seen this since the Gen 2 era. But let's actually look at Rockets Mewtwo EX. And the first thing I want to say about it is it's a basic Pokemon with 280 HP. For a 2 price, I think that's the most amount of HP we have seen on a card in such a long time. This is absolutely insanely powerful. You could use this already as an attacking option or generally in a stall sort of control archetype with Bravery Charms, Hero's Cape, Penny, Churro. Basic Mega have nearly 400 HP as a basic Pokemon and just constantly pick it up. Yes, it is weak to Dark, so like the Zoroark and Charizard could definitely hit for weakness, but they're not really doing as well. But that's enough about talking about the card itself. Let's actually see what it does. So it has an ability, Power Saver. This Pokemon can't attack unless you have 4 or more Rockets Pokemon in play. Very similar to the Magma and Aqua, Groudon and Kyogre EX back in the Gen 3 era. So that's a nice little callback to that. And it's attack for 2 Psychic and the colors. Has the detection sphere, 160 damage, and you may discard up to 2 energies from your bench Pokemon. If you do, 60 more damage for each energy you discard. So an additional 120 damage you could do for just 2 energy discarding, doing 280 damage. What's a nice callback that actually one-shots Rockets Mewtwo. So that's a fun callback to the Mewtwo Wars back in the black and white era. Honestly, I think this is quite good. Yes, it has quite some similarities to the Reshiram, Zekrom tag team back in the day with Naganado. I was definitely a sucker and fell for that sort of archetype, so I don't know if it will kind of live up to hype, but it has some really good support, and that's kind of making me think this could see some synergy. We do see Rocket Spidop, so it's nice to know we're not just getting Generation 1 Pokemon with that charge up ability. Once you're in turn, you may attach a basic energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So the idea is use Mewtwo's attack, discard the energy from Spiders, and then reattach to this one. We also got the reveal of Team Rocket's Energy, which is a double energy which can be attached only to Rocket's Pokemon. And if they do, they are a combination of Psychic and Dark energies. So if it's obviously 2 of any combination, so you attach this to a Rocket's Mewtwo, you have Spidops to Energy Accelerate, and sometimes maybe Crispin. Sorry, that to actually get more energies attached to Mewtwo. This could see some sort of synergy, and I quite like this one. We do see Rocket's Persian EX as well. For that Arrogant Order, your opponent reveals the top 10 cards of their deck, and you may choose an attack from one of those Pokemon you find there, and use it as its attack. The opponent shuffles their deck afterwards. I could see this work more in Expanded than I can see in Standard. The reason being is, right now in the format, we have lots of does more damage for the amount of energy to discard, or supporters, or power Pokemon in play. So you don't have like a guaranteed this does a huge amount of damage, like for example, Draco would have, or Lugia, where they had this guaranteed number sort of placement. So I think it's good in the sort of Expanded right now, but in Standard, I don't think this will see as much play, but it's nice to see that nevertheless. We also see Rocket's Porygon Z, which I feel is going to be more, currently right now, the only good draw engine we've seen for Rocket. With the ability, you may discard 2 cards from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may draw a card. So discard 2, draw 1 card. It's not too bad, and it works well with the Control R attack. 20 times the amount of supporters in your discard pile with Team Rocket in its name, and we saw quite a few, and some of them are quite interesting. So as the ones we got revealed right now, we've seen 3 Team Rocket supporters. So if you have all of them in the discard pile, you're effectively doing 240 damage for that Team Rocket's energy. Not too bad on a single prize Pokemon. Hopefully we see a few more. Hopefully we see some good synergies to go with this one. But for right now, as the main sort of Pokemon we've seen revealed, they're quite interesting. I really like Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX. I want to try and build all the owners Pokemon, and right now it's looking like it'll really focusing on Rocket, like using Rocket's supporters, using Rocket's Pokemon, using Rocket's energy. So I really like that sort of synergy. Let's actually look at these supporters, and they're quite interesting. So we have Rocket's Retriever, which is search deck for a supporter card with Rocket in its name, reveal it and put it into your hand, shuffle your deck afterwards. I think this is really good. Getting a supporter search in a format where we don't have that much good support to search right now is insane. I think it's only really cool, Bell, in this new sort of format. So having this as well, and we saw 3 Team Rockets cards. And first of all, let's look at Team Rockets Giovanni. Switch your opponent's your active Rockets Pokemon with one of your bench Rockets Pokemon. If you do, switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. This is Guzma in the Team Rocket deck. This is very, very good. This is an instant inclusion in most of these Team Rocket archetypes because you can all of a sudden just guarantee a gusting effect, switch one of your opponents, and then, for example, you have this Energy Acceleration, which works well with bench Pokemon. This Team Rocket's Giovanni works in that sort of synergy. I like this one. I also think we can play this in the likes of Boss as well. So you can have as much gusting as you want. And it's really good. It's just, you can search this from that item card as well. Very powerful. Team Rockets, the other Team Rockets admins we also see is Arena, draw into of 5 cards in hand. Then if all your Pokemon in play are Rockets Pokemon, draw into of 8. This is a good sort of draw card, especially what this Team Rocket deck needs. And Team Rockets Archer is basically a reprint of Ace Trainer. You can only use this card if any of your Team Rockets Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Each player shuffles their hand into the deck. You draw 5, opponent draws 3. Not too bad. I'm actually really impressed by the cards we saw revealed for owners Pokemon for the Team Rocket set. We've got a lot of reveals to come through. The set's not even out till April in Japan. We get this over in November, not November, in May. So we've got quite a few while till we get these cards ourselves, but I'm actually really excited for this one. I'm worried about actually picking up the products recently, but honestly, I think we're seeing some good sort of synergies. There's lots of callbacks to the Team Aqua, Team Magma sort of factors around here, but seeing we haven't got potentially going to have 800 different Rockets Pokemon, it's making me really excited. Now, let's actually look at the City League Championship, see how the meta's really developed 1 week on with half of Destined Rival, the Hot Area Arena. And we can see here that it's changed quite a lot with the likes of Raging Bolt skyrocketing back up to the top spot. For those who don't know, Raging Bolt is really good in post-rotation as we get that in just a few days' time. On Friday, we get Journeys Together being revealed and Raging Bolt is looking very powerful. It lost quite a lot of keys or pieces it needed, but it's went a bit more of a slower approach. Having the Noctowl line, having the baby Raging Bolt to do a lot of damage with amount of energies attached to this one, and likes of Crispin. It's going that slower approach and be more meticulous to actually get these big one-hit KO and have a more stable board state in the late style game. Dragapult number fell down just a little bit, going down to 16.2%. But the reason I think these decks are doing so powerful right now is because Tera Box is not doing as well. That people are taking in these shamans, or generally in some cases not so much. Think about like how we're very scared currently of having Manaphy in decks. Greninja is really kept in check. Having that shaman threat right now is really slowing down the Wellspring Master Ogerpon doing all this damage with this Tera Box. And we can see that's really the reason why Dragapult and Raging Bolt numbers have really gone up. But because of this, Gardevoir numbers have actually increased. Yes, it may have decreased a little bit from last week, going down to 9.1%. But the reason why it's doing so well is because they're playing 2 Clefairies right now. So they're using their Gardevoir, they're using their Drifloons, their Screamtails, sometimes even the Clefairies themselves to get that dragon weakness, hit dragons full weakness all the time with all your psychic Pokemon. And it's really, really scary for some of these decks to respond to with single prize archetype, which can pretty much one-hit KO all of the big scary archetypes right now. Gholdengo numbers have decreased just a little bit, but they're focusing still on that Quilava sort of engine, which I really, really like. Didn't actually win as many events as I thought it would do this past week, but I think people are really starting to test out, see what is the best way to play it. They're playing the Quilava build because Quilava is good. You're using it to get Ethan's Adventure, then you have the Typhlosion as the secondary attacking option in the late game, doing 280 damage, which is really, really powerful. As well as also it's good to actually use Ethan's Adventure to get the energies you require. The big standout archetype, which I think is going to be really good even in our post-rotation format right now, is that poisoned Archaludon deck. Now, when poison people think, oh, it's basically the same thing as how Cloth Trapagos is played. You use Trolley, go huge wider bench, and then hopefully draw into stuff. They actually are running the likes of Secret Box. Secret Box gets you obviously all the key sort of supporters and items and tool cards and trainers you actually need. So I think that's a really good sort of way about how this deck is evolving, how it's kind of adapting right now. You're using more of a stadium card, you're using the Petron, switching into it. So instead of having the Badu sort of lock, you're going with the Petron to deal more damage that way, denying some decks like Dragapult, potentially Raging Molt if they have that single prize in the active spot, denying them Serendipity, which I think is a really good strategy. Another deck which is also doing quite well is Archaludon, just regular one, has gone down because many people are focusing on that poison archetype. We can see that where I get the results, poke at our book, they've actually split the results because it's become that distinct, the Archaludon build for the poison way, how Petron is really going with it. Some of the owners Pokemon are still doing well. Garchomp builds have actually increased in numbers, going up to 4.7%, for really focusing more on the TM Devolution sort of plays, having that Frostlass, spread loads of damage counters around there, and people are realizing that it's really difficult to actually get to the constant one-hit KO potential with the Roserade is always in play. So they're going more of a slower sort of approach. Having the Frostlass, having Monkey Dory, so taking those sort of bench spaces and replacing it with spreading loads of damage counters around there. And sometimes even focusing on Garchomp's first attack, 100 damage, discard, draw till 6, is still really, really... I can't remember if it's draw until you have 6 or discard, draw till 6. Either one, you're drawing a lot of cards, you're doing 2, 3-shotting most things, spraying a ton of damage counters around there, and potentially taking multiple prize sort of turns to late game. Likes of Zoroark and Flareon are also going up in numbers. Flareon is actually taking in the likes of Weltering Mask Ogerpon in the deck. You already run Water Energy, you already run Crispin, you already run Energy Acceleration with Flareon, you already run Sparkling Crystal, so you can bring out a Weltering Mask Ogerpon very, very easily, and I think it works well. Sylveon has become more of the secondary partner of Climb. They used to play likes of Leafeon, because you already played the Grass Energy, but I think having that Sylveon, having that threat of just getting rid of 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon, potentially removing some of their key supporters, for example, in Gardevoir, just removing 2 Gardevoirs or Dragapult, removing sort of these setups like the Dusclops, the Dustorm, denying them from taking their main advantage, I think is really good. And Zoroark as well, obviously, it doesn't really change too much. People are taking in the likes of Monkey Dory, going for the Joltix, going for the Power Hourglass, or generally having the Blood Moon Earth Luna. You need that big secondary attacking option. I think that's still pretty good. And obviously, we've seen Tera Box with this going down because of that threat of Shaman, and Charizard as well, because it still doesn't know what it wants to do. It's still the Terrapago sort of build, go wide of that sort of big bench, go with lots of sort of complex or plays, or generally just going to regular Charizard, what we're used to with the Pidgeot, with the Dust Noir, going that way, and sometimes even running Maximum Belt to actually guarantee you can get these huge one-hit KOs, add that pressure a lot early on, because think about the likes of Tera Box and some Pokemon which have a bit more than 200 HP, you don't really want to give them that Dusclops right now. You want to save up for a later sort of term. So the meta is evolving quite a bit in this new sort of format. We're seeing some new archetypes obviously come out of it. The Poison deck would still be around here, but Gholdengo and likes of Garchomp feel like they've changed quite a lot, even in the last few weeks. And just looking at the top 4 archetype, we can see here that Raging Bolt was 25% nearly of all top 4 placements at the City Championships. So it's kind of like skyrocketing to be the BDIF right now again. We talked about it before, right at the start of the year, that Raging Bolt was back up there. Dragapult was also doing pretty well, and seeing Gardevoir as well. We're in nearly exactly the same format we were talking about nearly at Prismatic Evolutions at the start of this year for us. So we're seeing a little bit of change right now, but I think Raging Bolt is just very fast. It's consistent. You're doing a ton of damage all the time. If we see the rest of the tier 3, what they've chosen with, they've got the likes of the Poison Archaludon being nearly 7%, but regular Archaludon has been 3.7%. Combine it, that's basically quite a lot of points. It's over 10% of the meta game is actually still Archaludon, so it's still probably a tier 3 sort of archetype. And Gholdengo, Charizard, as well as also Cynthia's Garchomp are still doing really well. Cynthia, because it's that new sort of that brand new shiny toy, they always want to try this out, and I'd like to see it is actually getting some sort of consistent play overall. So just looking at this sort of meta, I'm excited to see where we're going with the in sort of our Destined rival set. I'm intrigued to see what Team Rocket's going to be. We also have the Champions League happening in just a few weeks' time over in Japan. So again, I'm excited to see how that is really going to impact the meta going forward. So let's actually look at some of the lists that have been playing and see exactly what we can go in and add that for our post-rotation format, or if that's just a brand new archetype overall. So let's look at Raging Bolt first of all. And again, we're seeing very much a similarity about where Raging Bolt is going with this one. We do see a split of the 2 single price attacking option. We have the Crydon, which does 180 damage if one of your ancient Pokemon used an attack last turn, and the Raging Bolt for a lightning and Fighting, it does 30 damage. I believe it's 30 or 20 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So it's good for that bench sniping capability, what this deck is really struggling with. One key thing you'll probably notice it does play, it's the likes of Jamming Tower and Crispin. Jamming Tower is really powerful. It slows down Tera Box. It slows them from getting that sparkling crystal. It's forcing them to get the energy switch. It's forcing them to get more outs of this sort of effect. So I really like that in this deck. And Crispin. Crispin is just that secondary starter. You're getting that grass energy to attach to Ogerpon with its ability and gain that energy attachment for to your Raging Bolt to attack. Or then generally you might have one in hand already. So you're potentially getting 3 energies of this one, which I really, really like. I think Crispin is great for Raging Bolt in the future. And we're seeing here, we played that 3-3 line of Noctowl, about 1 copy of Fan Rotom. Fan Rotom really helps in control matchup. You've got the 1-hit KO potential on the Mimikyus instead of relying on potentially just going for a canceling clone play. This deck doesn't really go this one. We have a ton of different attacking options. So we have a good matchup against the Cornerstone Moss Ogerpons. We have a good matchup against any of these Tera Pokemon. We can struggle against Frigoraph, of course, because it can't be damaged from basic Pokemon, but obviously we have really good gusting effects, so we can kind of go around this one, and we also have Noctowl as well. So Raging Bolt is looking really, really good in the new format. Now, Dragapult as well, this build here, I really like. Lots of people I've definitely noticed me talking about have seen, why are we playing Bravery Charm? Why are we playing Jacques right now, or Brock's right now? I really like Brock compared to Jacques. So if we look at this list here, this is a very straightforward one. It does play a very thick line of Dusknoir, and obviously we're missing a lot of key pieces. We're missing the Fish, we're missing the Alakazam, we're missing Rotom, we're missing loads of these good key supporter Pokemon. So we can actually fill out and make the sort of the support Pokemon like the Dusknoir a lot more thicker and rely on the rare candies for the aggressive and Dragapult plays, or potentially the Dusknoir in the later style game. But what I love about having the Brock is you can get out your 2 Dreepies, your 2 Dusclops, or in the late game, just get a Dragapult, get a Dracloak, get one of your evolved Pokemon. Yes, it's a bit different. Like Jacques, you get the 2 evolved Pokemon, so you can get your 2 Dracloaks from this one. But Brox, it gives you that early game sort of pressure as well. You get the support Pokemon like the Dreepies, like the Dusclops, like the Badoo, which I really like. Having the Bravery Charm in this one, it protects your Dusclops, it protects your Badoos as well. So normally they're like these easy fodder, which they can easily KO from the Dragapult spread of damage. But having the Bravery Charm attached to that Dusclops, sorry, yeah. So Duskull, it prevents it. You're giving it 50 more HP. So if they want to get the KO, they have to use that Dusclops to put that 50 damage onto the Duskull, and then they use the Dragapult to actually do that damage. So effectively, they're giving you an extra prize, which I think is really good. You're forcing your opponent to take a little bit more, to actually dig a little bit deeper to put that pressure on. Because in a mirror match, if you have as many Duskulls out in play, it's a really good strategy against this one. You're forcing your opponent to actually utilize their resources, because at least if you have one turn without Dusclops going into that Dusknoir against the Dragapult, you're in a much more commanding spot. And we're at the unfair stamp. We're going much slower in this build. We can see here with the EXP share, with the Crispin, you'll want to kind of get that set up first because you're playing that double Badoo, which I really like. I think that's a much stronger sort of strategy compared to the more aggressive build, which I'm used to being playing. So I like this how Dragapult is kind of evolving this one, and we can use this in post rotation. I think Brock can easily be substitute from having that Shack, or generally just keeping Brock overall. We also have this build as well, which kind of popped up quite a bit, playing likes of the Typhlosion. So having that as your secondary attacking option. Yes, you can have the likes of Ethans, you can like draw into them. You play 4 copies of Ultra Ball, so a lot more heavy on the discarding factor. So you can use them to discard, and you already play the Fire Energy, so you can use the Ethans in the late sort game here. Use the Dragapult, spread loads of damage counters. So all of a sudden, these Typhlosion can get the big 1-hit KO in the later style game. You have great draw factor with having the Dracloaks as well. You have a Badoo and Shaman for that extra protection and that disruption sort of factor as well, and the team evolution to evolve into your guides as quickly as possible. This is quite interesting. It's popped up quite a few winning places this week, so could this be a good way to play Dragapult? Obviously, Dragapult has played a ton of different partners right now. You've got Iron Thorns, now this, Gholdengo, Charizard, and Dusknoir, and even Xatu as well. So I think the best way is still one with for Dragapult into that Dusknoir, but having this Ethan's Typhlosion could be a quite interesting tech way to go around this one. We also see this new Gardevoir, and Gardevoir obviously did really well. I really like Gardevoir right now in this format. Obviously, just won Stockholm Regionals, and it changes quite a lot by removing all that Refinement Curlier, by removing Australia, removing Greninja, removing all these good key pieces that really requires. This build here is a much more faster sort of aggressive build. We're seeing Gardevoir kind of opt into for that 2 copies of Clefairy. This one here does only play the 1 copy, but does play that 3 copies of Bravery Charm. You want to constantly be bringing back your your Driftlooms, and your Screamtails turn after again, hence the 4 copies of a Night Stretcher. The 3 rare candies and the 3/1/2 line of Gardevoir, you're very aggressive, you're very fast, and you can see this build here, it kind of like really capitalizes on this build. Having the no team evolution, because you don't need it anymore, so that's where it can really afford. Lots of the space is really freed up by going for this more aggressive style build, and that Brilliant Blender also gets you the Pokemon, hence the more copies of Night Stretcher. Could Gardevoir just be the best way to play this one? We've seen it nearly be 10% 2 weekends in a row because the likes of Dragapult, because the likes of Raging Bolt up at the top, really capitalizing on what Lily's Clefairy has really opened up to this deck. I really think that Gardevoir going into our NEIT format could generally be a really good shout. I also think Gholdengo as well. It's actually quite a fun one build, playing the likes of the Typhlosion as well, which I think is the best way to play this. I think it's really fun. I talked about it a bit last week. Use the Quilava, get the Ethan's Adventurer, play the Ethan's Adventurer, get the 3 energies, use the other Quilava as well, and then discard it with the use the Quilava to get another Ethan's Adventurer, discard it with Earthen Vessel, get 2 more energies. All of a sudden, you've got these 5 energies right now, and the late saw as well. You can just search them out and then discard them with Superior Energy Retrieval. And in the late game, you've got Typhlosion, which can do 280 damage with Monkey Dory moving around some damage counters. Well, effectively that's 310. Yeah, Picnic Basket, you can get some healing in. I really like this deck. I think it's really fun, and I really love how this could potentially be the best way to play Gholdengo in the future. And it's just honestly really, really nice to see Gholdengo constantly be evolving, especially after Justin, who I was rooming with, a good friend of mine. He did get day 2 with Gholdengo, actually ended up on stream going at start of 5-0. So it's nice to see Gholdengo still actually kind of have that resurgence right now in the last sort of format, and actually going to carry on into this format as well. Now, we're going to look at 2 different Archaludon builds, and this is the Poison one. The deck which a lot of people are talking right now. I think it's really, really powerful and potentially could be the best way to play Archaludon going forward. It's had a lot of partners right now, and it feels very much like the Regidrago sort of factor before Worlds, where Japan was playing lots of different builds, and right at the end, we had a new sort of Archaludon, but we got a new set, so we got replaced. But I think this one is really, really good. We can see here it is very fast, very aggressive, with the more copies of the Calm Mind, the higher counter of Ultra Balls, with that secret box as well. You're drawing for your deck as quickly as possible. You want to kind of like get out your setup. We can see here we have the Petrum. That's kind of your main sort of strategy, having that in the active spot as well. Getting additional more poison counters. You have the Binding Mochi as well, so you can use the Badu to do even more damage as well. You have the Stadium card as well, so you have multiple ways to do additional more poison sort of effects. Exactly the same thing like Sneasler. So I do like how this deck is really working. It's very easy to function, and I think going into our new format as well, I would put this up there as the top 5 Archaludon, which I will be releasing my top rogue and competitive decks this week as we gear up for the resale journeys together. And this build here is definitely going up as most competitive because I really like this deck. You have Archaludon, so you already have a really good attacking option. You have a Chiro, so you have that gusting effect. And honestly, the poison is really good. You always struggle, I feel like, with Archaludon to get that early sort of pressure on here. And having item locking your opponent, having all this huge damage capability, and potentially using the poison effect for your own advantage, Archaludon, they can do nearly 300 damage, and that is really, really scary. We have the other build as well, which is things with Zacian, a lot more of a traditional build, which we've kind of seen. High counts of energies, having the jamming tower, disrupting your opponent from their tool cards, having the picking it up and then using the Zacian as kind of your late game attacking option. The only thing I don't like about having Zacian right now, we don't have the rest of the hop support right now. Potentially it'll be better to use the other Zacian EX, which I don't know if we get if it's been released for us yet. So that could be another strategy to really employ. But you can see here, this is very fast, very aggressive, constantly healing because 300 damage is really difficult to hit. Charizard, again, like I mentioned, is a deck which is kind of still trying to figure itself out. This build here, it goes more on the team evolution and does play that maximum belt like I talked about. So Charizard can do 230 damage if your opponent hasn't taken a single prize card, which I really like. It does play the likes of the Cleffa instead of Badu, really focusing more on the setup sort of capability. Some decks are playing like the Tera Orb, so you can actually get out your Charizard much easier. They're still playing the Pidgeot because I think Pidgeot is the best way to play this one. But what I like is it does play that new Brock's Grip. I can't remember if it's Brock's training or whatever it is. But like I mentioned before, you either get 2 basic Pokemon or an evolved Pokemon, which I think is really good for Charizard. You can get out your Pidgeot, use the rare, if you have a rare candy in hand. I just really like this build of Charizard. It's nice to see we've seen some more post-rotation cards and not relying on just these owner's Pokemon constantly all the time. This is the Garchomp, and like I mentioned before, It's a very different build to where people are really seeing it. It is that much more of a spread style effect. Now, we do see Crispin, which I love. I think Crispin is just a match made in heaven in any deck that's running Monkey Dory, because you can get the energy attachment for turn on your Pokemon of your choice, and then attach to your Monkey Dory with that Darkness energy, which I think is really, really good. We're seeing it plus play a 3/3 line Frostlass. And also, Pokemon, like we mentioned, have a ton of abilities, so spreading loads of damage counters is really good. And Garchomp, with having the Cynthia's power weight, has 400 HP. It's very difficult for something to actually one-hit KO this Pokemon. Yes, it is weak to grass, so there is lots of Ogerpons and stuff like that, so it can be knocked out easily, but it's going to be very difficult for them to do. The Unversed Amp, have that destructive capability. The Maractus as well, putting more damage counters around here. This is such a fun and interesting archetype that is making me think this is definitely the best way to play Garchomp. And also, we're currently right now in the effective way, with the best way to play two owners Pokemon is through spread. The Hops engine is much better in spread, and potentially Garchomp as well. It doesn't feel like an owner's Pokemon, as it's just focusing on having Garchomp as your main sort of attacking option. You sit there, you hit 100 damage, you draw some cards, and then spread loads of stuff out to it. It could see some sort of play, but this is currently the best way to play Garchomp, and it's making me excited. We're seeing it much more different. You're not going for prizes, hence the 2 copies of Team Devolution, the 3 copies of Countercatcher. So you're going a much more slower approach, going for that heavier to spread loads of damage counters, and potentially taking a 6 prize turn. Tera Box as well haven't changed a lot going into this one, but what I found really interesting about this Tera Box deck is it just play a Monkey Dory. I feel like we haven't really seen Monkey Dory be played in many Tera Box decks, but I think it does make a little bit more sense. It helps likes of Blood Moon to actually hit that one-hit KO on Gholdengo. It helps some archetypes get that big one-hit KO potential. You're healing some damage as well, instead of playing the likes of Picnic Basket, which we're used to seeing in quite a lot of decks. So that's one thing I really like in this sort of deck here. Tera Box, I think, is definitely struggling just a little bit because of the Race of Shaman, because it doesn't get that explosive turn with Wellspring Master Ogerpon. But you have a plethora of so many great attackers. Pikachu is so hard for decks to really get these big one-hit KOs and just 300 damage. The Monkey Dory can actually help you actually get that additional more damage. You can remove potentially the damage counters on that Pikachu, which someone probably put on this one, to actually try and slow them down so I can get the one-hit KO in the next sort of turn. So I do like this sort of strategy, and I love Ditto in Tera Boxes. Ditto is your pretty much your second or third card of whatever you want to have. It's that third Wellspring Master Ogerpon. It's potentially that fifth Hoothoot. So I really like what Ditto really has to offer, or generally that Fan Rotom, to get all your setups and capabilities going forward. I think Tera Box is great. In our current format, I would put this as the number one going into post-rotation on Friday, because it is just so powerful, has the answer to everything. It is so fast, so aggressive, and it will still constantly be winning, even though it's an uphill battle right now because of that Shaman. Flareon as well, this didn't do as well, did get the top 8. And like I mentioned before, it does play that Wellspring Master Ogerpon. It's kind of popping in quite a lot more. Like I said, you're already playing the water energies anyway. It works well with all the strategies you need. So kind of like getting the 100 damage to the active and then 120 to the bench is really, really powerful. I really like this one. You're already playing the Crispin. You already have the energy acceleration with Flareon. You already have the Sparkling Crystal. Why not just have Wellspring Master Ogerpon, have that pressure there? You get 2 prizes from 2 separate Pokemon. Denying potentially setups from Hoothoots, denying the Dreepies, denying the Duskulls, denying potentially any way for these evolving archetypes to keep up in the format. This is something I really enjoy, and how this deck is really evolving. I think this has definitely become a lot more competitive as it's going on. I would say it's definitely a top 8 archetype right now. I wouldn't say it's in a rogue deck. I would say it's much more of a competitive option. It's definitely something to be really keeping an eye out for going forward to. I also like the Clavel as well. I think that's what it's called, or the one which lets you search deck for 3 EX Pokemon. Already play a ton of EX Pokemon. You can even get your Eevee to evolve into Flareon. So I think that's just quite an interesting choice overall. And finally, I just want to look at Zoroark, which was a deck which ended up winning, and it's a little bit different to how we've seen most Zoroark decks build. We've kind of seen most of the setup is that 3/2 line of Dramatam. That's very normal right now. The 1 Monkey Dory, 1 Blood Moon, I've been testing around just a little bit, but the Hyper Aroma is a really interesting one. We're used to seeing the Unfair Stamp, that disruptive capability, really slowing down the opponent in most ways. But the Hyper Aroma just goes, right, let me get 2 more Zoroarks and that 1 copy of Dramatam we need, because I've got Team Evolution, I've evolved potentially another Zoroark as well. I like what the strategy really has to offer. The rest of the deck is still very straightforward. Does play 1 less copy of Darkness Energies, we're used to, but does play 4 copies of Ends PP up, so you have that sort of way to do additional more energy acceleration. And the tool cards as well, very heavy on this one. The TM Devolution is a nice sort of touch, because you are going to spread a lot of damage with Dramatam's attack. copied from Zoroark, so the teamed evolution does make a little bit of sense, and the evolution is great. And then Power Hourglass is just an additional energy attachment for turn. And I really love Defiance Band as well, because you actually need this one so for your Mushroom to deal about 200 damage. That's I much prefer the poison build with the Binding Mochi, doing that 210, which is what you need to one-hit KO the Welshring Masks and all that lot. So I do like that deck a little bit more better. But having the 5 energies and having Monkey I just feel like you're only limited to only 4 energies, and that could be very difficult for Zoroark to kind of play around with. So that brings it close to looking ahead. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and kind of like my closing sort of thoughts I want to talk about is Raging Bolt back on top. We've seen it do really well. It's kind of been like slowly creeping up, trying to overtake Dragapult, and this week it finally did. I think it could generally be here to stay, but who knows? Gardevoir could end up spiking and do really well next week. Our owners Pokemon good. We've had these now for nearly 3 months over in Japan. We've kind of seen the Hop Zacian do well, Zoroark kind of like pop up here and there, and now Cynthia's Garchomp has kind of become the mainstay of these destructive spread solar archetypes, and Typhlosion could be the best single price archetype. So that's something which, again, I really like. Poison is best with Archaludon. Is this the best way to play Poison? Is this a way for it to survive? We saw how powerful Poison is. Obviously, it donked Justin on stream on round 6 and Stockholm Regionals this past weekend. We saw it do well in the Cloth deck. Could it work well with Archaludon? Is that the missing piece Archaludon really needed right now? So, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Like I mentioned before, thank you so much for the support. We are so close to 2,000. Like I said, if we can hit by end of the week, even end of the month, that'd be absolutely incredible. I'm back in just a few days' time, bringing my competitive and best rogue archetypes for journey together, because I'm so excited for this new format and see exactly the impact owners Pokemon will have on our format as well. So my name is Charlie TCG, and I'll see you guys later.